One. Good morning and welcome. I'm Abs of October Red. And look, it's a surprise. Gareth A. Davies has turned up. There was a point when I thought, hold on a minute, what's going on? Because Gareth is one of these guys that's what you'd probably say is fashionably late. But today, look at that. Look at the effects.
What is
He was,
that?
I don't know. It was just a confetti mocking your lateness. But today I thought, hold on a minute, is there something wrong? Because I couldn't get hold of you. So, Gareth, how are you?
I'm
I'm
very
glad you're
well.
alive.
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
All the better for seeing you and knowing that you're okay. We're back again. I'm starting to get a little bit spoilt doing these with you. So, thanks for coming back. This is gone down from, what is it, every 12 days to what are we on now?
Every 9 days.
Every 9 day, the countdown. We like it. Does this mean, Gareth, and I don't mean to be presumptuous, because I'm not a presumptuous person, but does this mean I can get you next week when you've jetted off to Saudi and I know you're going to be busy, but I'd like our viewers to be able to get the essence of what's going on out in Saudi. And I know you're a creative talker, and I'd love to be able to do maybe a pre-fight day and a post-fight live with you just to get like the feel of how it is out there, and obviously the aftermath. Is that something I can get you to commit to, Gareth?
Well, if that's your Christmas present, then probably, yeah.
Oh, we like it. We like it. Good morning to Ify Sid. Apologies. It's Gareth's fault. I'm just going to leave it
No,
as
no,
that.
it is. No, the truth is, I've got an oil delivery to my tank today because I'm off oil um, for my boiler, and the lorry came and the gates weren't working. I went outside. I locked myself out, and I've had to walk all the way down to my housekeeper, my cleaner's house, and get the other set of keys, which is about a mile away, and then walk back again. Um, and thankfully, because the lorry had gone, the oil lorry had gone, and he's just come back. You see him coming back now, so that's good.
So, guys, Gareth as a housekeeper, which lives a mile away. It's lovely. But Gareth, we could talk about oil, lateness, housekeepers a mile away, and you inevitably getting your steps in for the day before the day's really even started. But we're
God,
going to
no,
get
that's
back.
not far enough. I'm going for a. It's a beautiful day out
It
there.
is beautiful. It is.
Look out there.
So what do you do then? Do you go for a run?
Bike
Are you
ride,
a walking? Ah,
bicycle. I'm going to go about 15 miles this morning on the bike.
excellent.
Yeah, but 15 miles on the bike, and because this time of year, I don't know if you're this, I know you're a gym guy, a gym girl, um, and I don't really like the gym that much in terms of gym exercise. I'd rather go out and be outside. I've got lovely nature around me. There's deer, badgers, foxes, white pheasants. I've got a white pheasant out in my garden from Vietnam. Oh,
Not for dinner.
just one sec. Just one sec.
This is Oilgate. See, the thing is, Gareth
Yeah,
doesn't
it is
know that
okay.
I like outside. It is Oilgate. Let me mute his bits just in case he ends up having a private conversation. So those of you that joined us, I'm Abs of October Red. This is the well, it seems as if it's like a weekly debate that I'm doing with Gareth at the moment. Gareth doesn't know me pretty well, because if he did, he'd know that I'm always out on the canal running. I prefer outside, and I've been spending more time outside than I do in the gyms. We're going to cover a few topics, but I'm going to wait for him to get back before we start on those topics. But I can probably reveal. Oh, he's back. Hold on.
They were knocking on the door. They wanted to make sure they put it in the right tank.
Are we sorted now?
We're
Is
sorted.
Oilgate?
I'm all yours. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
getting all the
What?
dramas. You're actually getting. You're just getting the whole soap opera this morning. So it's
I
additional drama. October Red.
Well, you know what they say, that is first world problems. So it's not really drama, is it?
No, it's not. No, the drama is I don't like being late. I don't like letting people down. And as if he, if he says,
If you said, yeah, yeah.
if he says he's right, outdoor cardio is better than the gym. Plus, it's free.
But you don't know me that well, Gareth, because I'm always running down the canal. That's what I was just
Oh
saying to the
no, actually,
viewers.
is that the Willenhall to Birmingham Canal?
Yeah,
Is that canal?
I run all the I run all the way down there.
Do you ever bump into Mark Farnell?
To be fair, even if I did, I probably wouldn't know because I'm zoned out. All I tend to
Mark
do
Farnell is
is
a blind runner. Yeah.
no, I probably would know that. No, I haven't.
Okay, he's a guy that ran for Great Britain in the Paralympics several times, and he worked for I think British Gas, and he used to run 10 miles along that canal to work every day. Yeah,
Fair play to him.
and trip over dog leads. He never fell in the canal on his way to work, but he knew the terrain really well. But he
He
was
must have
blind.
done.
He was blind. So anyway,
Yeah, bit of a fun fact.
story from the
It,
past. Yeah.
yeah, but it's a good run. I do prefer it outside, and like if you
Saw it the
said
other
good
day.
morning,
I saw you run the other
I do it
day.
all the time, all the time. I'm in fact,
Are you a slow jogger?
yeah, I'm not
Very
a
slow jogger.
sprinter. I wouldn't say very slow.
But it's better for you to run slow anyway.
Yeah, I'm not running down there to sprint. I'm more distance over speed.
10K,
Speed comes with no, I'm a 6K girl. Come on.
6K girl.
Yeah. We'll keep it at 6K. But when you do it, like I try and do it 5 times a week, but I've started swimming again. I know this has got nothing to do with boxing, but yeah, swimming's really good as well. So I've started swimming again
No,
after
swimming.
how many years?
No, but this is what this is just the preamble, isn't it?
It's a bit of, are we moistening each other up to get ready to talk some serious anyway,
That's what
sorry.
it's called. Yeah.
Anyway, Gareth, I'm going to let you start off on the topics this week because I think you were
Okay.
going to take me to school on one of the things that we wanted to discuss. But
Yeah.
before you start, Nick Harmer, one of the regular subscribers as well. Big up Abs. Hope you're well, sis. I'll probably have to catch up on the playback. So yeah, no worries. Nick is a big, massive fan of boxing, as you can see by his profile picture. Is an avid
Who's that? Who is that?
vintage.
Jack Johnson or someone?
Look, yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, Jack
Mm.
Johnson. Yeah. Anyway, the floor is yours.
Well, I was chatting to you about how delighted I am. It's boxing, but starting with women's boxing. That the great Jane Couch MBE
Yeah.
has been. Oh, it's George Dixon. Thank you. It's a tiny picture on my screen, and it looks like
Yeah,
Jack
it's the old
Johnson.
school.
Thanks for that, Nick. Um, Jane Couch, MB, the great Jane Couch, has been inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in Canastota in the summer, along with Ricky Hatton, by the way, as well.
Yeah, I saw Ricky Hatton's in.
And I'm really delighted for Jane Couch. She's someone I've known, God, I want to say about 92, probably about 25 years. And I covered all Jane's early career where she had a high court case and her battle with the Boxing Board of Control. They had a very Procrustean system. They were Luddites, if I can call them that, back in the day, the board. They didn't believe in giving licenses to women to box. Jane was the first, and she took them to the High Court. And I covered all that for the Telegraph. And Jane's a pioneer, and I was really touched and moved that she was put into the Boxing Hall of Fame. So was she, by the way. And when she got her license, I remember her first fight. It was in a very low-ceilinged nightclub called Caesars in Streatham in South London. And it was like a dinner show. And Jane, the Fleetwood Assassin, as she was known, was a kind of crazy kind of she's a big athlete as well. She was not a small athlete. She was a big woman, very strong, kind of crazy. And I'm really delighted for her as well that Canastota Hall of Fame has come at a time when, do you know the actress Saran Jones?
I think I've heard of
Very
the
well known. Let
name.
me find her. Hang on, I'll put a picture here of her. Saran Jones.
Saran Jones.
Saran Jones and her husband have bought.
Oh yeah, she was in The Conjuring.
Yeah, The Conjuring and other
Yeah,
things. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I
She
know
did
who she is.
Coronation Street years ago.
Oh, she's
Unforgiven. You
British.
mean Unforgiven?
Right. God, oh, yes, of course. Yes, I know who you mean. She played, is it the doctor?
Yeah, she played the Doctor.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's it.
Yeah.
I've got her now. Yeah,
Well,
brilliant actress.
yeah. Saran Jones has bought, and her husband, who's a screenwriter, have
Mhm.
bought Jane Couch's life story. I think for about $250,000. And Jane will be in it, I think, or she's certainly advising. But they're making a 4-part, 1-hour doc or drama doc about her life because they'd spoken to me about maybe being a journalist in it. And I'm just really pleased for her that her life's going to be made into a mini series as well, because it's an extraordinary tale. If I pull up Jane Couch's record, for me, we talk about Katie Taylor and Clarissa Shields and all these other guys, but when you look at her 39 fight record, and she's fought Holly Holm. Where's the other ones here? Lucia Riker. You go down here. It's Kalpana Shah was the trying to find that fight that I covered. Caesar's Nightclub. That's right. It was Simona Lukic at Caesar's Nightclub, Streatham. Before that, Jane had to be an unlicensed fighter, and she shifted the ground for women. You look how prevalent women's boxing is now. Yes, because of the Olympics in 2012, the first Olympics with, flyweight, lightweight, and middleweight divisions. But Jane never had any money, travelled all over the world, often bumped into her in fights in America when she was on the undercard of British boxers we were covering, whether it be Nazim Hamid or whoever. Jane at times didn't have money for a hotel room. She'd stay in a hotel room. I certainly know one journalist, she stayed in their hotel room. And she was good friends with him. And so she got to stay there because she just didn't have the money. So I'm just putting it out there that way back in the day, and as you say, kind of first world problems I've been talking about this morning, but she really did have third world problems in boxing terms, and she overcame them all. I love Jane, I really do. She always used to grab my hair and pull it and go, kiss me on the cheek and go, "Oh, you got lovely hair, you got lovely hair, look at you." And she was you know how you like characters who are very open and transparent and themselves. You probably haven't met Jane, no? You'd love her. You'd absolutely love her. It's a real character. You will meet her. And she's just one of those people that she's just a brilliant person. I don't know if you ever saw the episode where she beat up Barrymore live on television, Michael Barrymore, on
How
his
on
chat
earth have I
show.
missed that?
Yeah. She beat up Barrymore live on air. No, she just set about him on air. Started punching him. It's just a real mad character, but everyone loved Jane. Everybody loved Jane. So just starting that today on the fact that 26 years ago, I think it was 1998. Yeah, 25 years ago, she finally got a license from the Boxing Board of Control, who, as I say, were Luddites at the time when it came to women's boxing.
May I ask the courage, that she had to go to the British, well, to take them to court? You mentioned stuff like character, strength, somebody that's, outspoken and can stand up for herself. Who did she have with her that was saying, "We can win this case. We can put women's boxing on the map. We can win this. This is an unfair rule that the British Boxing Board of Control had at that time."
It was a lawyer, and that's who Saran Jones is going to play in this
Brilliant.
miniseries. But she had, I can't remember his surname now. Tex, Tex was her coach. I'm trying to remember because they'd refused to grant Couch a professional license on the ground that she was a woman. You won't like this, and argued that PMS made women too unstable to box.
What?
Yeah. That's what they claimed at the time. Honest to God. And so she claimed sexual discrimination supported by the Equal Opportunities Commission. She managed to have the decision overturned by a tribunal in March 1998. Even at the time, though, the British Medical Association were against women boxing and called it a demented extension of equal opportunities.
Demented extension.
Yeah. And she also said at the time she wanted the permission to fight men as well. She was unsuccessful on that. Yeah, it was she fought Lucia Riker then. It was obviously another huge name in 5 years later in the Staples Center, Los Angeles, and boxed till 2008. Yeah. She got an MBE in the Queen's Birthday Honours in 2007. And she's already in the Women's International Boxing Hall of Fame. That was 7 years ago. But it just shows how far things have come that she's now in the Canastota Hall of Fame, and she'll be there alongside another lunatic from the north in Ricky Hatton.
Gareth, you've touched on something that I think kind of gives the essence of boxing. You have certain people that set a standard that they may be doing something new, something individual, something personal to themselves. But us as boxing fans, because I'm sure at the time she would have got a lot of stick from the possible chauvinistic, misogynist side of boxing. How comes, us as humans, we never tend to really give people the respect, the credit, their flowers, as it were, their rewards until so many years later. And it's when the people have now looked back and say, wow, look at what they did. But in that moment, people almost filled, with disdain. Look at the word demented. What a derogatory term to use against having females in the sport. Talk to me a little bit about that, because you've been through the generations. You've seen generations of the sport and it change.
Yeah, I also covered the career of Layla Ali as well. I mean, when that came about and her fight with Jackie Frazier-Lyde, when Joe Frazier's daughter and Muhammad Ali's daughter met in a giant circus tent in Syracuse, New York State, covered that event. The two old men were there, the fathers, Tito Trinidad. There were loads of stars there that night. It was about 7,000 people, and they had a 7 or 8 round scrap. It was absolutely brilliant. I've even covered an event with a man versus a woman in Seattle, Washington in the year 2000 as well. That was around about the same time that Layla Ali fought Jackie Frazier-Lyde. A woman called Margaret McGregor fought a former amateur boxer called Lloyd Chow. We dubbed him Lloyd Chicken Chow because he ran all night. It was a 4-round fight. It was in Seattle, Washington. It's the only time I can ever remember a licensed, a sanctioned fight between a man and a woman. About half the audience of 8,000 were women that night in Seattle, all screaming Margaret on. Margaret was a boxer and a landscape gardener, and she'd been beaten up by her husband and divorced him, and said, "I'm going to go and learn to box, so I never get bullied or physically harmed by a man again." And she beat Lloyd Chow up for 4 rounds. It was kind of like a crazy. She ran after him, and he just ran. Well, it's a lose-lose, isn't it? What can he do? But the baying crowd just went crazy while she beat this guy up in there. Yeah, Margaret McGregor. But I remember covering it for the Telegraph at the time. I think it might have even been on the front page, because it's the first bout that we can remember between a man and a woman. I don't really advocate it. I think it will happen again. I think it will happen again at some point, because we've got these, wild and wacky fights going on. I don't advocate it, as I say. I repeat that, but that was a strange one event again. But I think if you go back to your original question, as I diverged off, you said you want me to take you to school. I'm just kind of telling you the things that I've covered. That
I'm enjoying it. Carry on.
Well, it's when people say you don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I have covered this a long time and been over lots of iterations of things. And it's only now that we're talking about it that I recall them in that moment as well. So for me, and because this is I think what I distinguish is, I think a lack of I don't think it's misogyny. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's, I've got daughters in their 30s, 30 and 30, 31, 32, my daughters. And, for all the kind of ape man stuff in my own brain, and all men suffer from it a little bit, I've always liked to kind of learn from my daughters. And you don't even have to learn, they just put you straight. In life, they put you straight. It's your children. But I think misogyny is quite strong when we're debating this. I don't think it's hatred of women, which is
Misogyny.
yes. But what I think it is, it's a lack of understanding. And I think generationally, what the world's changed in the last 2 generations, because women are now the commanders of warships. They're commanding men into battle. Prevalently, I mean, we've had more women leaders in the world. We've had more of that advancement, and I think once that happens, there's more of an acceptance from both genders that yes, women are fit for that role. Women are better at men than doing those things, or they have a different take on it, which we need in the world. I mean, one of the things that I think with the boxing border control, I think women fighting there's a generation above me that struggles with it a little bit. They genuinely struggle with the idea that women should fight. So I think we have to look at that, and that's what we were dealing with the boxing border control at the time. I think I was listening to a very big debate. If I mention the name Joey Barton, yeah, do you know Joey Barton, the footballer? He mentioned yesterday, it became a very kind of like a toxic debate over the weekend when he said, why have we got so many women pundits now doing men's football? And I see both sides of it. One, if women are brilliant at it, then it should be there on merit. It should be done on merit. If they're brilliant at it, have them doing it. But his argument is why this is football, and I don't really follow football that closely. And I was thinking about boxing as well, and there are in boxing, we're the same sport. Women's boxing and men's boxing is the same sport apart from rounds at the moment, the length of rounds. I don't think it's a different sport. Whereas in his argument in men's football and women's football is they're a different game. They're certainly in a different place. But I think the time will probably come when women are earning millions a year, as it will in boxing as it grows. Because just to not get into that football toxic debate, what they want, or what a lot of men believe at the moment, is if you haven't played at that level and you're a pundit, you may not understand what it's like being a manager with guys who are earning $1 million a week or $4 million a week and all this kind of money. Which I kind of understand from that viewpoint from people in that sport. In boxing, I think we've got a really long way to go with women's boxing still, October Red, because I think there are. Katie Taylor moves the needle in Ireland, but I still don't think it's a big sport in terms of pay-per-view. I mean, again, I enjoyed Lauren Price at the weekend. I think she's brilliant. I think Tasha Jonas is phenomenal. Fran Hennessy's coming through, I think is going to be a massive star. She was obviously having a second pro fight on Saturday night. Savannah Marshall, Clarissa Shields. I've really enjoyed the company of people like Lucy Wildheart so far, and I really see the endeavour from so many of the women. But that breakout, and as I say, I covered Jane Couch, I covered Layla Ali, I've covered Cecilia Breakus, Amanda Serrano, some of these other girls, I mean, by that. And I don't think we're at a point yet where we've got, and I want your view on this, where we're at with women's boxing, where there are many pay-per-view events out there for women's boxing, that it does command a huge audience. Because I think notably, and I don't know the research on this, but I suspect the audience for boxing and women's boxing is probably largely male still. And that we've got to grow into more women wanting to watch boxing. Discuss.
Right. Okay.
Was there any misogyny in there or not?
I wouldn't call it. You're far from a hater of women.
No.
So I wouldn't use that word to describe you at all. There's traditional attitudes,
Yeah.
which stem from experiences that you're used to, what you've seen through your career, and I can talk from where I've jumped in.
Yeah.
Because I'm how many years later.
Yeah.
I may have sat and watched boxing, but I'm no journalist. I haven't got the experience that you have. But when I see, Chantal Cameron, Katie Taylor, doing sellouts in arenas, when I hear the crowd screaming as loudly as they do for the male boxers, I do believe that we're at the beginning of a massive
At the beginning.
change.
At the beginning, though.
Yeah, and I believe, the promoters, the help from the promoters getting behind and supporting the females developing, their online characters or personas, as it were. We're starting to see that with the younger fighters, Katie Taylor, Chantal Cameron, extremely reserved, professional. When you've got the younger characters coming through, you've got, like, say, for example, the ones that have got a little bit of spite in them. You've got Sandy Ryan, you've got, Shannon Ryan, you've got Francesca Hennessy. You've got these females that are coming through, that are showing that personality, that are, Alicia Baumgardner, Clarissa Shields, Savannah Marshall at press conferences, witty, sharp, all of it. We get to see all of this, and I'm in that era where I'm starting to see the females shine in the sport. I never tend, and Gareth, this is my ignorance, I never tend to look at pay-per-view and gate numbers and stuff like that. I just tend to gauge the crowd, whether I'm watching it at home or I'm sat in the audience. And I do believe that, some of the males may say, "Oh, I just don't like to see the women fight. I'm not sexist. I'm
Yeah.
not comfortable with it," and
I'm
that
not
is
there with that.
fine.
I am comfortable with it, and I don't understand why people aren't. I don't get that bit of it.
Because they believe that a feminine, a feminine side of a woman is not to be fighting. That's just
I
like I
thought
said.
that was the
That's
previous
tra-
generation felt like that, and I thought that had gone.
it's clearly it hasn't with all, but in everything, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I see a rise in the sport of females, especially from when they're headlining cards. Sorry, I beg to, also Carice Art in Store, Lauren Price. I cannot forget young Caroline Dubois as well. She's got that
Yeah,
personality.
absolutely.
She's sitting there calling, everybody out, and all of that energy, I think, is really good for
Yeah,
the
but
sport.
what I'm saying is, in business terms, in terms of boxing,
Yeah.
we are just at the beginning. We are, because, but in my experience of it, and speaking to people like Bob Arum and Frank Warren about women's boxing, we've definitely got a broader spectrum of women boxing now. We've got depth beginning to come into women's boxing, more acceptance for boxing, more development of boxing. But I think we've only got sporadic pay-per-views at the moment, and I'm looking at it in
Okay.
terms of business. Listen, some of the women, like you say, they have better stories, stronger stories, more fascinating stories than the men. There's no question about that. Which makes me think as well. I like 2-minute rounds because I think they deliver in 2-minute rounds. I'm not a big fan of them moving to 3-minute rounds. I also think I'd like to see a deep medical report on the different physiologies by these brilliant scientists who are out there on men and women.
Mhm.
Does it make sense for women to fight 3-minute rounds? Should it be 12-3? Should it be 12-2s, not 10 2-minute rounds? And should women be wearing head guards in the amateurs anymore and men not? Or all of this stuff,
Ah,
I think I'd like to see research around it as well. And because at the end of the day, the reason I mentioned pay-per-view and parity, it's a very inexact science. It's a very Machiavellian system for being paid. In boxing, you generally get paid for how big a star you become in the sport. Look at what Devin Haney's doing at the moment. He and his father are very calculated in trying to turn him into the new Mayweather. Great move up to fight Regis Prograis at the weekend. Brilliant performance. Very good matchmaking as well, though. I mean, it wasn't wholly unpredictable at all what he was going to do to Regis Prograis. And there's 4 fights out there for him: Ryan Garcia, Tank Davis, Shaka Stevenson, and Teofimo Lopez, that are all enormous. Just as out there for Katie Taylor, there's a Chantel Cameron rematch, a trilogy,
Amanda Serrano.
Amanda Serrano fight, a Tasha Jonas fight. And in the same way, towards the end of a career, those are the big fights. Those are the big fights in women's boxing. Savannah Marshall and Claressa Shields in MMA, because they're both to the PFL now.
PFL. Yeah.
So overall, there are stars out there in the sport. I have covered stars in the sport. Jane Couch is a star in the sport for the things she's done. And maybe you make a good point this morning. It's not just about who the pay-per-view stars are, who's making money out of it, although that's important. It's about the depth and breadth of the development of the women's it's not the women's sport. It's not a different sport. It's the same sport of women's boxing. Because at the end of the day, it isn't women's cards and men's cards. We had that 11 fight women's card. They're both on the same card, aren't they?
Yeah, and we love to see it. I'm with you. I'm on the fence about going up to 3-minute rounds. I'm neither here nor there with it.
Yeah,
I know a few of the, Amanda Serrano's, trailblazing for the
Left her
3 minute
WBC
round.
title as a
Sh
result,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. So
They won't let her
she's
fight 3
about
more times.
yeah, because she's about the legacy, what she wants to leave
Yeah,
behind. She wants to set the standard. Um, like you said, scientific reports, all the rest of it. I think whatever the women choose to do, and if it does go up to three, they'll follow suit. Just
yeah,
like, the multiple weight divisions that are being added into the support. Everyone says yuck to start off with. And then in 10 years' time, they could be, well established.
yeah.
It's boxing is a game of time will tell. And that's why we love it, because it's unpredictable, because it's nasty, because it's interesting, because it's passionate. It's got everything. And I think with the fighters you mentioned there, it's about your character. It's about what you do. Ryan Garcia, no belt, but look at his popularity. With the fighting, it is like a popularity contest. And when I mean that, it's not necessarily about being liked. It's just about being popular, as in everybody's talking about you. That's what generates income. And I think that's where we sort of like drift into. It's almost like celebrity boxing, but they're, fighters, traditional boxers with exciting characters that want to show the world who they are. And I love that, male or female. Let's just do it.
Yeah, and I think when boxers pass over into that celebrity realm, I mean, Ryan Garcia's, I think, liked more than he's disliked, but if he's crossed over into that kind of new
Yeah,
wave of
he has.
popularity, but our big stars in the boxing firmament, your likes of Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, and I mean they are mega stars, really. Their every move is critiqued. Conor McGregor. I mean, the ultimate one for me in my time, really, the ultimate two have been Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, because they were so big, and
Okay.
Mike Tyson. Those are the three. I mean, no one's bigger than those three. Manny Pacquiao, for the things he's done for his homeland and becoming a darling in America, and running for president in his country and all those kind of things. Floyd Mayweather for just being Floyd Mayweather. Just the
Exuding character.
yeah, well, I think it's also using his skills and marketing himself. If Muhammad Ali hadn't called himself the greatest, people wouldn't be calling him the greatest today. He
Spot
repeated it.
on,
I
Gareth.
am the greatest. I am the great. He believed it.
Spot on.
Yeah, he spoke it. He believed it into existence, and that's why Floyd Mayweather has got TBE on his t-shirts and his shirts, because he does consider himself the best ever. He's certainly the best I've ever seen live. And by the way, Devin Haney busted some shapes on Saturday night, or broke out in some shapes that were reminiscent of Floyd Mayweather as well. Just the shape of him in that fight with Regis Prograis. And Mike Tyson. He's Mike Tyson. He's the biggest story. He's the biggest sports story, one of the biggest human being stories in transformation, certainly in my lifetime. When you think about what Iron Mike was like, um, a wrecking ball, emotional wreck, electricity flying off him, and now he's an openly vulnerable, wise human being who we treasure being on the planet, because of transformation, because of what he went through, and what he is now. And I do feel that about him.
They do say that smooth seas don't make skilled sailors. And I think Mike Tyson is definitely one of those. But something that you've, touched up on there, and I'm going to go through the chat as well, because I've kind of abandoned the chat. So sorry, I'm just so engaged in what Gareth is saying. Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay, somebody that would had that confidence, that self-belief, and came with that energy. You could say from the beginning of his career, something, his mantra, his words, I'm the greatest, I am. He believed in himself. But yet still today, when you get the likes of, and I'm going to give it as prime example, you get Ben Whittaker,
Mm.
confident in who he is, had the same style in the amateurs. That if you look at his amateur fights, and I've watched him spar, he has that same confidence. People don't like it, that some people are repelled by it, but he's consistent. And he's going to carry on doing that, whether we like it or not. And this is what attracts me to Ben Whittaker as a fighter, because that is who he is. When he gets in that ring and he does all of that, he's truly himself. But it aggravates people so much, but yet still they're talking about him. I think he's one of those, if he does go all the way, he becomes a world champion, he unifies, he becomes undisputed. I could see him going up to cruiserweight because he's big, gets all of these achievements. I do think that we will once again, like Jane Couch, like Muhammad Ali, like Mike Tyson, in years' time, we'll look back and say, the younger generation will be like, wow, look at him, look at what he was like. And it'll be like the grandparents saying, well, I didn't like him. Boxing.
Well, I think what he is doing, like others that you mentioned, he's bending orthodoxy out of shape, Muhammad Ali was the Louisville Lip to begin with, by the way, remember?
Okay.
And he was disliked for his motor mouth. He was a free spirit. He was relentless. He was fearless as well. He was a fearless free spirit. Now, I spoke to Ben on Saturday night after the event for TalkSport, Ben Whittaker, and I asked him, where does it come from? Is it nervous energy? Because he really is, as I said, bending orthodoxy, and he's on the fringe of disrespecting his opponent at times, isn't he, with things he does? And that's our debate on air on Saturday night. But it is entertaining. It does make you watch. He is a showman. There's no question about it. Physically, he's an extraordinary athlete when you look at his physique. Like you say, huge broad back. They say 6'1". I think he's about 6'3", really. He's an enormous light heavyweight. What I'm relishing is him taking that style in late in 2024 against an Anthony Yard, a Dan Aziz, a Joshua Boatsi, a Callum Smith, and just seeing, because that's where the jeopardy then comes, whether that style works or not. But if you watch him, when he's close up with opponents, his hands are high.
Yeah, they are. I commentated on it.
The movement and the black balaclavaed swan.
Beautiful.
Ballerina that it's not Swan Ballerina, but it was like Swan Lake.
Yeah, it was like Black Swan.
Yeah, with a piano being played on Saturday night for his walk-in with the ballerina. It was brilliant. I love all that. It's very creative. It's like you say, it's he's got his own brand already. So all of that is magnificent, and that platform that you create for yourself is so important as a fighter. So in many ways, I do wish him well, but I'm waiting for that moment that he steps into the ring with those big names in the UK and the world, because that's when that stylism or that stylistic stuff that he's created fully gets tested. And if he beats them with that style and does that, more people will love him, more people will hate him, he'll become a bigger star, and he will become one of those pay-per-view stars. I think I'd like to see a couple of women that come along like that as well, by the way, while we were talking about women's boxing as well. We haven't quite got that yet.
Francesca Hennessy.
Yeah, well, do that. Frank on Cruz Dezern, by the way, HH Diva sings. She's
how on earth did she sing the national anthem and then go through all those rounds? Is beyond me.
God knows. But she knows how to sing. She's been on America's Got Talent, hasn't she? So we taking people's questions today or not?
Yeah, if he said that was earlier, he said he wants to talk about the stinker that's CBS, but we'll hold fire on that. Gareth has a massive piano in his house. Can he play it?
Yes, but I'm not playing it now. Yeah, I play it badly. I've got a lesson. I've got a lesson in a little while, actually. I might have to hang on. I've got a lesson in 14 minutes.
Yeah, we'll get through. What would be good if there was no refs and the fighters just fights knocked out?
I'm sure that happened in the past. That I think you're talking about the Colosseum in Rome, aren't you? For that,
Yeah, the gladiator style.
Addy, it's a good question. Addy obviously likes a. I don't mean a fight to the death, but I mean there are, you know, there was a fight in. Let me find it. There was a fight in Benicia, in a place in California. I think it was the last bare knuckle fight. Can't remember the detail, but I'd have to look it up.
Yeah.
I was seeing a girl that lived in Benicia a few years ago, and I think there was like a 40-round fight on
Dear
a
God,
barge.
no.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, no, thanks.
Yeah, here we go.
Let me.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. It was in 1889. The Battle of the Bay, Benicia's famous barge fight. Boxing match in Southampton Bay, because I do it because it's it was between Gentleman Jim Corbett
40 rounds.
and Joe Choinsky, one of the most savagely contested fights in boxing history on a barge anchored in Benicia's Southampton Bay. The legendary 27-round finish fight resulted in an extraordinary display of grit and courage by the two famed pugilists.
Thanks.
Well, Gentleman Jim Corbett was one of the great early champions of boxing, but that was in 1889. Good morning from America, Dana Jones.
The Religion of Gravity was saying that he thinks men and women shouldn't fight, and that the women do need to go to 3-minute rounds. If you see, women's boxing has progressed well in comparison to women's football, which echoes with what you said. Nick has said, I love women's boxing. The more, the merrier, I'd say. Nikolai, I believe that says, apologies if I've got the pronunciation wrong. If you take the length of a man's only boxing and compare it to the length of women's boxing has took off in the past 10 years.
Since the Olympics in 2012, really, in my view, got eyeball. It's one of those sports. It's a bit like MMA. It needs to. I think it needs to grow. I think we need more eyeballs on it, and the more eyeballs you get on it, the more people will watch it. It's as simple as that.
Is this the real Jim McDonald boxing? I keep asking this question. Brilliant, love the GAD, on with the girl, so he is. Is that really Jim McDonald boxing?
I don't know.
This is he's subscribed and he comments and he joins in on the lives, and I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm being trolled, but good morning. Chesa, I actually prefer women's fights to the men's lately. I was torn. First all women's boxing. I went to the first all women's boxing card in the O2, and one of the best fight nights I've been to.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Let's have a look. Let's push through, because oh my god, there's so many comments.
Better late than never, eh?
Absolutely. As long as Ben can back it up against more credible opponents, he will silence his critics.
Well, this is it. It's those you want to see him in with those not novices or guys that aren't his level. You want to see him in with those big names, guys that can really fight, because he can clearly crack. And you want to see to what extent he can do his wild and wacky dance with that level of British, European, and then world. That it's going to be fascinating.
Oh, this is a question. This is an interesting question, and it's about you, Gareth. Mr. Lemon, or I like to call him Mr. Fruit, because lemon's quite bitter. I prefer pineapple. Anyway, will Gareth ever set up his own podcast or move to a bigger broadcaster? Gareth?
Well, there's no broadcaster I haven't worked for, so I don't know what that means.
Where would you like to see him?
Obviously, I've had my own podcasts. I've had several of my own podcasts, but I tend not to do them with regularity because I've got TalkSport, William Hill, and the Telegraph at the moment. I come on with you. I do some of the other YouTube channels. I've done 2 series recently. Battle of the Baddest, 12 episodes. I did a series for Boxing Social. I've worked for ESPN. I'm working for ESPN on the Top Rank on the Callum Smith Art of Better
Oh,
BF card. I've worked on TNT Sports as a UFC presenter. I've worked for DAZN. But I like moving around and working for all of them. I work for DAZN
transient.
with Josh Kelly. I'm working with DAZN tomorrow, doing an off the cuff with John Ryder. Thanks, Mr. Lemon. I just want to stay visible and have enough work. That's it.
Yeah, and transient. Let's shout out Rosanna Cox. Rosanna Cox had her second pro fight in Australia and won. It looked like it was a good battle, but Rosanna is very tough. She's still out there. I'm wondering when she's going to come back home. Lovely woman, powerful.
Oh no, I'm a
puncher.
huge fan of Rosanna in every conceivable way. Every
bet you are.
conceivable way. Yeah, huge fan.
Huge. She's got lovely big brown eyes.
Well, I won't go into all the things that I like about her, but do you know what she is? She's
She's a
sexy,
star.
she's sassy, and a star. All those things, and she can fight.
Yeah.
All that, she's got
And-
everything. We should have mentioned her earlier. She's one of those people that
with the character.
She had the right moment and crossed into the mainstream. Absolutely, absolutely.
She has got that top table energy, and she has got all the attributes. She speaks well. She's pretty, like you said. She's got that sex appeal, but she's never trashy with it.
No.
So yeah, she's and of course she can fight. Did you both wear black on purpose, or was this a happy accident? I think it was a happy accident. Yeah, we're twinning without realizing it. Gareth is a legend. Nice to see you, and stuff. I didn't see you on Saturdays live. You better be on there with the American one that I'm doing. Asked the Silver Tongue who his favourite boxer of all time is and why. This is Hobo. Hobo's from, I think, is he from Cornwall? Can't remember. One of my
I hope
regular
he's out there
subscribers.
surfing today in this weather. I think that's a kind of sideways compliment. Our Silver Tongue. I don't know why I'm Silver Tongue, but favorite boxer of all time, and why? Oh, in terms of boxing, it's Marvin Hagler is my favorite boxer, and I was lucky enough to go to Morocco with him once after his career. The late great marvelous Marvin Hagler. I went on a trip. It relates to what we've been talking about today. I went on a project with the Laureus World Sports Academy, and Daley Thompson went on it as well. He was a friend of mine, always been a friend of Daley's. And we went on this project with the sports minister, Nawal Al-Mutawakel, who was the first woman, a Muslim woman, to win a gold medal at the Olympics. And she was a 400-meter hurdler, Nawal. And she was the sports minister of Morocco at the time when I went on this trip. She won in Los Angeles she won, was it 96? When was the Los Angeles Games?
Don't know.
Well, she won the gold in Los Angeles, and I think it was Los Angeles. And Nawal wanted to change things in Morocco because a lot of girls were getting married in the countryside very young. And we went to this sports college in the countryside, myself, Marvin Hagler, Daley Thompson, and a few others, and we played basketball against the girls team, and they were all about 6'2", like 15, 16-year-old girls. They were fantastic. And they had these sports projects, and obviously Daley was brilliant and Marvin was brilliant. And I sat down, I was on the bench. We were benched at one point, myself and Marvin, and he had scratches all up his arms where the girls had been scratched.
The girls were clawing.
Yeah, exactly. And he and he was still a bear of a man in his 50s. This is probably 15 years ago. And he went, "No man ever did this to me." And we had 3 magnificent days together. I never watched any of his fights live as a reporter or as a broadcaster or journalist, but for me, I just loved Marvin. I just loved what he stood for. He was just, brilliant. I mean, obviously his fight with Tommy Hearns is extraordinary. Marvelous Marvin Hagler. But yeah, again, it's always great meeting these guys. Like a month ago in Saudi, I had a couple of really cool chats with Mike Tyson. I don't know if I told you at all.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Did I tell you on here?
Yeah.
Oh, I've done it already. Well, again, when you...
I can't remember, but you've definitely told me.
Yeah, when you connect with some of these guys who do extraordinary things in the ring, and you speak to them on a kind of on a deep level, I always think it's nice to do. I'd like to be able to do that with people like Anthony Joshua at the moment, but it's hard to get to some of those guys. And I think maybe sometimes it happens after their career, because they've got so many pressures on them when they are fighting. People in their ear, people around them, entourages.
Entourages is something that is a bit of a bugbear of mine. You see it a lot. And like you said, there will be journalists. I can't speak for myself, because if you're going to look at the kind of hierarchical order, I'm at the bottom, and I'm happy there. I'm a YouTuber. I'm a fan with a camera and a mic. I'm happy to do that. I'm passionate about the sport, but I'm not a journalist. So then to hear someone like you say you'd like to be able to have these conversations, but it's harder to get there. And you on camera, you would have seen me roll my eyes, because I know exactly what you're talking about. There were brick walls almost around these fighters that you would really like to have that in
But
depth.
they might need it. They might need it at this point in their careers. That's the thing.
Educate me. Well, educate me then.
They just might need it. Listen, I don't call myself a fan because it's my job.
Fair enough.
So listen, listen. I'm an aficionado, which is another word for it, of the sport. But I try and distance myself from being a fan, because I'm not going to the sport as a fan. I'm working. I'm always working when I'm there. So it's just a distinction, and I think I need that distinction. And I think I don't. Like, I've got an interview with Deontay Wilder tonight in 7 or 8 hours.
Oh,
I'm
brilliant.
looking forward to speaking to Deontay about, where he's going.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, Gareth. But there's something that I didn't get to speak to Deontay Wilder about when I spoke to him. So please carry on after this. But could you ask him if you can remember? It's to do with, obviously, after he had his losses to Tyson Fury, and he mentioned going on a spiritual journey, and he spoke about the ayahuasca experience, the more holistic approach.
I will ask him about that.
Can you ask him about that? Because he
I
seems calmer. And I'm just wondering, has that got anything to do with it? Sorry, as you were.
Yeah, I have visited him. I've got to go in 5 minutes because I have genuinely got a piano lesson. I visited him in Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Yeah.
Yeah, Birmingham, Alabama.
Birmingham.
And I love a bit of Birmingham, my girl.
See, I'm Birmingham.
I know. That's why I'm doing Birmingham. I've always found him very deep anyway. I visited him down in the woods.
Really?
With Davies, his trainer.
Was this before the loss? You've always always.
Before the I've been down there twice. I went down there before the Battle of Los Angeles, and I went down there before the second fight.
Interesting.
With Fury, and I've always found him a very interesting character. I think the ayahuasca, I will ask him about that, because I haven't had a chance to sit down and interview him, but it's a very good question. I will ask him. So it's all about development, isn't it? It's all about development. I mean, everything we've talked about today has been about development, women's boxing, development of the self,
progression,
evolution. And, I had that when I sat down with Josh Kelly yesterday, who fights at the weekend up in the Beacon of Light in Sunderland, in his hometown. He talked about kind of clinical hypochondria that he was suffering from, you know, and he needed to develop himself. You know, that when you, I'll answer that final question. Chris Billam-Smith was getting bested, I think, between rounds 3 and 6 on 3, 4, 5, and 6 on Saturday night, and he turned it around because he targeted the body of Masterneck that Shane McGuigan, who's his eyes and ears, had seen damage on, and Masterneck couldn't continue, spat his gum shield out. And Masterneck's a very, very tough guy, genuinely. And people haven't hurt him in the past. So Billam-Smith, he's got extraordinary stones and desire. And I think he's done a fantastic job. And it was a great atmosphere down there.
I bet it was.
Yeah. With Lauren Price and Fran Hennessy on the card to finish with a couple of women.
Yeah, definitely. Well, listen, guys, thank you all for listening in. Sorry I didn't get through all of the chat. This was more of, you know, like I said, it wasn't specifically targeted, but there were things that we wanted to discuss, put my teeth back in. I hope you enjoyed it. You know what to do. I'm going to try and get Gareth when he's in Saudi next week. That's my target. I don't know if I can, because I know you're going to be busy, but hopefully we'll run a live before the event, as in like the lead up, the press conference days. And then I really want to do one on Sunday post, so I can just get that whole atmosphere. Gareth, you're amazing. Thank you so much for your time. Commenters, viewers, subscribers, you're all fantastic. Until the next time, you know what we say. What do we say at October Red, Gareth? What do we say?
Is it be ready?
Stay ready.
Stay ready. All right, it's your watch.